Hello, and welcome back to part 5 of this doujinshi rating, A Trip for Two plus Baggage from White Album 2. The story about Kazusa and Setsuna taking a little Christmas vacation together through Strasbourg and Vienna. Continuing on, Setsuna is starting to get a little bit deep into her chats about Haruki. So let's go ahead and continue from here. Hey, Setsuna? Can I talk to you about something? Sure. The fact that Mom brought me to Strasbourg on Christmas Eve of 2012, that Haruki's train from Paris to Strasbourg ran behind because of snow, that your flight's arrival at the Strasbourg airport was delayed for the same reason, and the fact that I spotted Haruki in front of Strasbourg station, lost sight of him, and found him again in Place Kleber. All of that was coincidence. But even if it was all the product of coincidence, it feels just a little too perfect. Which is true. Without the right feelings, you won't be able to meet the person you want to see. If you don't act, you'll never see them. But even if we suppose my own intentions got in there and led to this course of things, the coincidence is still too perfect. And Setsuna is just being kind and listening, not saying anything, not interrupting, just listening. In those 5 years after I left him at Narita, I was always thinking of him, thinking of Haruki as I played the piano. As a result of that, thanks to that, I was able to place in an international piano competition for the second time. Thanks to that, I got an interview with a Japanese publishing company, and I found Haruki from Kaio. It was fate. No, Setsuna, why are you... What? Aww. The first time she speaks up, the first time Setsuna said anything, Kazusa's like, no, and just shuts it down. Why don't we take the bus up the mountain? The sun's gonna set soon. Okay, yeah, let's just ignore. You were on a good track of talking about something, and you were about to make some headway into, maybe finally unearthing some of that trauma to lay it to rest, and then, never mind. It's cold up here. Well, this hill is 484 meters high. The view is gorgeous, though. Yeah. Do you want to go to the restaurant on the right or the self-service cafe on the left? Just a second. The restaurant's full. Thanks for checking. The cafe, then. It's lucky there was a table open by the window. Oh, look at that. Nice views. Restaurants with a view. Super romantic. Yeah, thank God. Kazusa, are you good with red wine? I'll buy it myself. You stay right there with your fancy fake glasses on, Miss International Celebrity. She's still wearing the outfit. That's cute. Cheers. Yeah, cheers. Our trip zipped right by, huh? Yeah. I had a lot of fun. Yeah. What's wrong with you? You're mumbling. And on the left, we have a beautiful picture of the Vienna cityscape viewed from the observation deck at the top of the Kallenberg. The Danube is visible at the left. Just say it already. We're leaving tomorrow. It's your last chance. Setsuna, why did you bring Haruki to Strasbourg 6 years ago? I followed Haruki-kun, that's all. No, you must have known. You were the PR person for Knight's Record. I'm surprised you knew that. My schedule was being leaked to you. I didn't know anything about the artists I wasn't in charge of. I don't know how you wound up with information about an artist you weren't in charge of, but you knew. You knew I would be coming to Strasbourg that day. Oh, I love this. I have goosebumps because the author's interpretation of this could be the truth, right? We don't know 100% what happened that day. Unless they decided to make an after story or a separate drama CD. We don't know. But this is very well plausible. This could have happened, and so I love reading about this possibility. Keep going. Why? Why not? You must have known that while I was playing the piano, Haruki was constantly on my mind. I've asked this before, but what's with this middle school confession? Stop throwing up smoke screens. This is about you and me. Yeah, Setsuna's not really taking it seriously yet. If Haruki and I saw each other like that, something was going to happen, and something was going to stick around in both our hearts. Well, it was snowing that day. When snow falls, things tend to happen between us. Why are you dodging me like this? That day, that moment, you knew. You knew the traveler with a sprained ankle Haruki was looking after was me. You knew that your rival and your boyfriend were with each other. You knew, so why didn't you intervene? That day, that moment, I had no idea that Haruki-kun was looking after you, Kazusa. Liar. All you ever do is lie to me. I'm not lying. Hey, don't start crying in a place like this. Shut up. It's because you just keep spouting lies. Hang on. That's not fair. You're being unfair, Kazusa. Shut up. Not as unfair as you. You're way more unfair. If only you'd been a boy, Kazusa. Smooch. God. I hate it. Listen. As soon as they start getting real with each other, as soon as they start unveiling truths and being real with each other, then bam, something wicked out of character. Look, I get it. Setsuna flirts with Kazusa sometimes, but in this instance, in the middle of this argument, just randomly kissing her? No, I'm sorry. This part makes me so mad. They could have done it at any other time. They could have done it looking up at the church and being inspired and then being like, smooch, sorry, I just felt like kissing you. That would have been adorable. But right now, just makes me mad. What did you just do? I just kissed you on the cheek. I've told you so many times not to do that. You're so cute that I can't help myself. You know that? Cute? There's not a woman in the world who's cuter than you are, Kazusa. What are you talking about? You win. I knew. I knew all along. Setsuna. That you ran into Haruki-kun that day, that moment, and that you were together. Why didn't you do anything? Why didn't you interrupt? All you had to do was grill him over the phone. Kazusa, you're so straightforward and such a dummy. Shut up. I spent so much time thinking about it. About what the best path was so I could be with Haruki-kun for real. How does that figure in? You could have just done everything in your power to avoid me. If you knew what my schedule was, down to the day of the interview, why didn't you work in advance to eliminate that possibility? Sure, it was his job, but you could have found a way to make him turn it down. Which is true. Going with this possibility, right? Not going with canon WA2, but going with this situation. Setsuna absolutely could have. But you know what the thing about both Setsuna and Kazusa is I don't know, it's like they want to keep the trio together, And they know by keeping the trio together that they're risking a lot of things. They're risking their own relationship with Haruki, but they are hoping that it brings their relationship closer, right? Like Setsuna True ending. They're hoping that by bringing the trio together, they still get Haruki, but in a closer way. So she took a gamble, and in this canon, she lost. I didn't want to interfere in such an underhanded way. Setsuna. If Haruki-kun was going to commit himself to me permanently, I wanted him to see you before that. I wanted him to face himself and the feelings he still had lingering for you. Otherwise, I'd end up having to check up on who he was going to be meeting with in his next job for the rest of my life. I'd have to love Haruki-kun for the rest of my life with the fear that the moment he saw you, he would want you more than he wanted me. I couldn't deal with that dread anymore. This is such a sad thing to have to say, but also, honestly, pretty mature thing to do, right? To be like, oh, okay, well, he's gonna see her eventually, and I need to know that he still loves me more than her. Do I think it could have been done in a better way? Yes, it could have been like, oh, I heard Kazusa's here, let's go meet her together. But maybe that wouldn't have alleviated her fears as much as she wanted. Nor could I deal with my own feelings after having run away from you for so long, or the indebtedness I felt for having claimed Haruki-kun after you'd left Japan. So, I let him take that business trip. I pretended not to know who he was going to be interviewing. As I've said, the fact that you and Haruki-kun met up in Strasbourg was fate. I don't believe in fate. I don't want to believe that some path you produced was fate. Oof. Scalding, but it's true. Setsuna did pave this path. You don't have to believe it. I played the game on my own terms. I made war on my sworn enemy. That is all there was to it. But, be quiet already. Sir, quiet? Don't you dare apologize. If you apologize to me here, I will slap you. 1-800, are you slapping? Dude, the scene where they just slapped each other is so funny to me. It is so funny. It is one of my favorite parts. It is very sad, but at the same time, Jesus Christ, that was so funny. There could be people in this cafe who know that you are Kazusa Toma, and I am Setsuna Ogiso. You never know who might be behind us recording this whole exchange. And if you try to apologize anyway, I'm going to stop your lips this time, instead of just pecking your cheek. Understand? So corny, so cheesy. I hate it. God. I don't hate Kazusa Setsuna by any means. You know, if they wanted to get together, mwah, more power to them. I love it. But it's just so weirdly out of character there. I get it. Please back up. This is embarrassing. Promise you won't apologize. Fine. I promise. I started this war, and in the end, I lost. Strasbourg was recaptured. 6 years ago, you apologized to me over and over again for stealing my Haruki from me. And after all that, you said you would give up the piano in exchange and nearly destroyed your own hand with a broken glass. At that moment, the moment I swiped that broken glass out of your hand, I thought about my own cowardice, how I ran away and lost control of myself just because I wanted his love and hadn't been able to win it, and it made me shudder. And it hit me then that this time I had well and truly lost. That I wasn't prepared to drop everything in the name of claiming him, like you were. And if I had just sat and watched as you abandoned the piano, I think I genuinely would have lost my mind. God, it's so sad. My own personal opinion here, I don't think that Kazusa wanting to give up everything means that she wanted Haruki more. I truly and honestly don't. I just think that Setsuna happened to have a more stable life for herself. She was a more mature person. She had a stable job, she had a family, she had friends, that she was ready to abandon. But, that aside, Kazusa didn't have much, right? And so she was just willing to give up her one thing to have Haruki, because having Haruki completes all of those pockets of area. It completes her family, completes her friends, completes her job. She was using Haruki to fill all those holes. So it's like, I don't know. I could make a whole essay on it. Poor Setsuna here. I'm saying poor Setsuna a lot because this is post Kazusa true, right? So Kazusa got Haruki. So here, I'm not like, oh, I feel bad for her. If it were the other way around and Kazusa was tagging along with the two, I would feel so bad for her too. It's just such a sad position to be in. I was always thinking of Haruki-kun, but in the depths of my heart, I've been thinking of you. The fact that Haruki-kun was taken from me is still a deep gouge that hasn't healed yet. But the fact that I saved my best friend by taking that broken glass out of your hand, that I was able to acknowledge that I'd been unfair, that I hid that accident so that you two wouldn't worry. Those are all medals in my heart, small but precious. So I don't ever want you apologizing to me again. Thank you, Setsuna. Of course. That said, as I've mentioned before, if I spot any gaps, I may well wage war again. I know that. What a creepy thing to say to your friend. Like, just let you know, if you and your boyfriend aren't doing well, I'm gonna steal him again. What a weird, unhealthy thing to say. The sun's set all the way now. Yeah. It's been about 11 years since that school festival show, hasn't it? Yeah, I think that's right. And it's been a hell of a ride in the meantime. Am I seriously going to turn 30 in February of 2020? It might be time for me to drop the #1 idol in Japan title before it gets embarrassing. You think? Well, you can turn 30 if you must. As for me, I'll be 18 forever. They're talking like old women. Like, really? Come on. Life doesn't end at 30. Although the idol industry in Japan is very, very ageist, I would say. Taking a leaf from Kikuko Inoue's book? No, I'm more modest. By 1 year. I'll grant, your chest and butt are just as perky as they were when you were 18. Whoa, no groping! That was refreshing. Shut up. Now, why don't we head back into the city and drink a little more? Again, a weird thing to do, especially in public in a restaurant. Just odd. And this beautiful picture, the Vienna nightscape viewed from the hotel side observation deck at the back of the cafe. Doesn't it look a bit like the view of Vienna from the window of Kazusa's house in the last scene of Kazusa's ending? It does. It does, and it is beautiful. And we have more delicious food. This is the house plate at Zwölf Apostelkeller, the 12th Apostle's cellar. A laughable mistake. Why a laughable mistake? Okay, well, it is very big. But good Lord, that looks delicious. Oh, the sauerkraut. And what do you know? Here we are at Zwölf Apostelkeller. You know this pub is also super duper touristy? Look, it's our last day here, and up to yesterday we've been having dinner in 4-star restaurants. I'm ordering beer, white wine, and the local specialty plate. Oh, hang on. Huh? What? Never mind. This is sausage, processed meat, and warm sauerkraut. In other words, charcuterie. Charcuterie? Ugh. Just so we're clear, I'm not eating one bite of that sour cabbage. Now you're copying me? The end. Fin. I can't even picture the two of them eating something like so hearty and fatty. And yet, how good does that look? So we've finally made it to the end. Setsuna and Kazusa discussed a few things. I feel like there at the end, when Setsuna was like, you don't apologize to me. Like, I've come to terms with it, so please don't apologize. I feel like that's as close to closure as we're going to get between the two of them. At least as close as you can get at this point in their lives. Once Haruki is thrown into the mix, I think it's going to complicate a lot of things for them. I think it's going to be harder for Setsuna to be around the two of them. So maybe starting in this sense, starting with going around with Kazusa is a good idea. And if they truly, truly want to remain friends as the three of them, which I still don't think is the healthiest idea, then baby steps like this. So, your author is hardcore Team Kazusa, and as my followers know, I've published a long-form, 424 A5 pages story. This starts with Setsuna visiting Kazusa in Vienna following Kazusa's ending, entitled It's Not Love, available for 1,000 yen. Check it out. From the time I began writing, I've been curious about Kazusa and Haruki's life in Vienna. I've spent so much time tooling around, I think I should be fooling around, with Google Maps, trying to figure out where I can see the Vienna nightscape that we see from the window of Kazusa's house. And I ran across a view from the Kahlenberg that resembled it. So I decided Kazusa's house must be at the foot of it, the Heiligenstadt. But it's pretty seriously high-class neighborhood, and I don't know whether that view would be visible at that elevation. Ah well, it remains a mystery. And I decided that the two of them would go to the Christmas Mass at St. Stephen's Cathedral for sure. As I finally learned when I went there for myself, the late-night Christmas concert held at the cathedral goes from 8:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. every night from December 1st to December 23rd, and is completely unrelated to the Christmas Mass. You can buy tickets from the ticket seller to the right of the cathedral entrance. Inside the nave costs 40 euros. That's expensive. Which is true, especially at this time when things in Japan, the Japanese economy was pretty good. Things were pretty cheap. So traveling outside of Japan to a place like this and spending 40 euros is very expensive. As for the performance and all that, the audience was full of out-of-towners, and their etiquette during the performance was terrible. There were loads of people outside the cathedral selling tickets to Christmas concerts at other venues, so maybe it would be a good idea to take a look at the other places' concert programs and go to whichever one appeals to you the most. For the Christmas Mass, I told a slightly intimidating young man by the iron fence that I wanted to take part, and he said, "It's an hour and a half. Are you sure?" And I said I was. Which is important because tourists, a lot of them just want to go in, take some pictures, and then leave. So they have to check in. Are you sure you want to be in there? Because you can't just go in and out during the Mass. And they let me participate for free. An offering is expected, even though I wasn't a believer. It starts at 4:30 p.m. on the 24th, and 10:15 a.m. on the 25th. Do take care not to disrupt the believers there, though. Pray along with them, even if it's just by imitation. As I sang the hymns in faltering German, a beautiful, genuine believer who was seated next to me said, "Good, good," and it made me feel very floaty and happy. Aww. So he had a really good experience, right? Obviously, the whole trip is a really good experience, and getting to see a different culture, different parts of history from other parts of the world is a beautiful experience. But, look, he went to a church and he's like, I don't believe, but I did my best. And then someone said good and it made me happy. That's what traveling is about, is having those kinds of experiences, I think. And then the afterword. To all of you who picked up this story, all of you who read it, thank you. I am very grateful. This story is a derivative work of and pilgrimage guide for White Album 2, an 18-plus romance adventure game for Windows, produced and sold by Leaf and Aquaplus. Holy Land for WA2 fans, Strasbourg, the city of reunion, and Vienna, where Kazusa and Haruki made their home. I was determined that I had to go for myself, so I invited my wife along, and she bluntly refused. Dang, that's sad. I can't imagine turning down a vacation. Unless I had a very legitimate reason, like, oh, my work is too busy, like I just can't go. But just being like, nope, not interested. Can't imagine. I was nervous about traveling on my own. The reason is simple. I cannot speak English. Because even if you're in countries that don't speak English as the primary language, because of tourism, you will find English. On top of that, work got very busy before the trip, and my preparations and daily conversation studies were inadequate. Even so, I'm deeply glad I went. They were wonderful towns, Strasbourg and Vienna both, and I was touched by the kindness of so many people. Now, I have to tell this story because of how expensive it was. At first, I went, oh ho ho, I want to do something like Digimacom-san's masterpiece. We'll eat frozen mandarins as we go. But I realized shortly after I began writing that this was impossible. We'll Eat Frozen Mandarins as We Go was another pilgrimage guide, another doujin. I only took pictures with my iPhone 7, for one thing. So, everything is a little half-baked, but I arranged the text in order to resolve my own questions, and the pictures in order to pin down my own memories. This spring, as Kazusa and Haruki turn 30, I feel like I've managed to bring this story to my own sort of stopping point. That said, I have no intention of running off or switching islands. AKA, he's going to remain a WA2 fan and a die-hard Kazusa fan. Finally, to Enna-san, thank you for yet another beautiful illustration. Speaking of the front cover artist, Enna. Well, everyone, let us meet again in Onjuku. My heart is always with Kazusa. May 20th, 2019, Ushineko. Ushinako's done a lot of WA2 novels. If you haven't already seen my other videos from him or checked him out yourself, I highly recommend it. Really, really cool person. So we can see some miscellaneous photos here, which is adorable because look, he brought the WA2 cafe card of Kazusa and Setsuna on the left there. He brought a bunch of other miscellaneous merchandise with him to take pictures of. Like, that's so cute. He presumably printed out these pictures from the game. These aren't like pieces of merch. These don't exist as merch. So he took screenshots of these places, brought them with him on his vacation, and tried to find those specific places. That is so cute. I love that. So, this has been a trip for two plus baggage. Kazusa and Setsuna visit Strasbourg and Vienna. Text and photos by Ushineko. You can find him on Twitter with an iPhone 7 Plus. Also on Pixiv. The illustration and cover design, once again, is by Enna. And you can find Enna's Twitter and Pixiv there. Then we come to the back cover page, which is just a little bit more of the out of town. And then look, it's the cake that they didn't actually get to eat in the story, but it looked absolutely amazing. Maybe someday, dear listener, if you're on the trip yourself, make sure to eat that cake and please tell me how it tastes because I am very curious. And then the postcard. This image right here, the image that was on the front, actually came as a bonus postcard when buying the Doujin. I can't guarantee if you still find it in their official store that you'll still get the bonus postcard, but at the time that I got it, I was able to get this postcard, and it is beautiful. There was a few other bonus postcards that came with it, but those images were from Enna's other doujins. So I love bonus content. So cute, the two of them. Illustration by Enna, Roving Masters of Music. So that brings us to the very end of this very long, very historical, and very informative doujinshi. So thanks so much for joining me on this journey, and I'll be back with another doujin reading shortly. Until then, hope you take care. See you.